Moniek James is a U.S. Army veteran, entrepreneur, and AI-powered marketing strategist who helps growing brands eliminate marketing confusion and build trust at scale. She is the founder of Renegade Creative Media Group, where she guides small businesses, nonprofits, and government organizations through messaging-first strategy and AI-enhanced content systems. With over a decade of experience in marketing consulting and training, Moniek is a certified content marketing specialist, certified inbound marketer, certified AI consultant, and a Google Cloud certified generative AI leader. Her work sits at the intersection of clarity, strategy, and responsible AI adoption, helping organizations move faster without losing their voice. As a woman veteran and intuitive coach with an MBA, Moniek brings both structure and soul to entrepreneurship. She is passionate about empowering founders to trust their ideas, refine their message, and build businesses that reflect who they are becoming. Whether she's leading a board-level AI governance briefing or teaching entrepreneurs how to train their own GPT tools, her mission remains the same: clarity first, systems second, results that last.
Welcome to the MilCom Founders Podcast, where we champion and celebrate military community business founders. In each episode, we will talk with a MilCom business founder to learn how they work through various obstacles and opportunities in business and in life. I'm your host, Rod Loches. Let's meet today's guest.
Hey, Moniek, welcome to the show, and thanks for joining me today on MilCom Founders Podcast. I appreciate it. If you could just introduce yourself real quick, a little bit about yourself and your family, most importantly.
Well, thank you, Rod, so much for having me. I am Moniek James. I'm an Army veteran and the spouse of an Army veteran. And I'm an entrepreneur. I did not intend to start a business, was not on my radar. I kind of fell into this, or was pushed into entrepreneurship. And it's been 14 years.
Wow, congratulations. Let me ask you, tell me first, how's your family doing? I know your daughter was considering college. How did that all work out?
She is in college now. She's studying cybersecurity. She's still in her initial, the core classes, but she cybersecurity is where she wants to go. And so
Fantastic.
in the tech space and all of the stuff that's happening right now, we have some interesting conversations. So yeah, she's enjoying college.
Oh, that's fantastic. Glad to hear that. That's for sure. So you said when you started your business, Renegade Marketing Solutions, right? How did you say you got pushed? Who pushed?
The job that I was working at pushed. And what's interesting is my company now, Renegade Creative, wasn't the first company I started. It wasn't the first business I started. I'd gotten out of the Army, separated from the Army, and was working a corporate job in government contracting. And after a few years in that job, learned that a peer, I thought to be a peer in a different office in a different state, was being paid $10,000 more per year than I was. We were in the same job, and I knew that resume to resume, I had more education and more experience, and I was former military. And so this was before the whole lean in movement was a thing. Lean in wasn't a thing, but I was angry enough that I was like, I'm going to go into my director's office and lay out all of the reasons that I should at least be paid the same as this person. And they told me no. And I got pissed.
Yeah, understandable.
I got pissed. And but the no, I was pissed for a little bit, but then I realized I had thought that my salary at the time was the ceiling. And the experience of learning that that there was more available, it was like a revelation for me. Like, oh, so there is more available. And even though this employer isn't going to give me the more that's available. I'm going to get it myself. And
There
I
you go.
started a business. That first business was event planning. I was always,
Oh,
I'm in my circles, in my family, I'm the organizer. I'm the person that does all of those things. And so I started an event planning business, but I worked primarily with nonprofits and small businesses. I did things like customer appreciation events, grand openings. In one particular nonprofit, I planned the first female veteran stand down in the state of Georgia back
mm,
then. So yeah, it was. I didn't realize it then, leading me to what would become the business that I own now and the work that I
uh-huh.
do and the people that I work with. But yeah, that it. I like to tell when I tell the story that no really was like a hinge moment for me. It allowed me to first see what else was available, and
Wow.
it challenged me to bet on myself and to see myself through a different lens.
Uh-huh.
And 14 years later, I'm still doing this crazy
So it was
thing.
a fantastic pivot moment almost,
Yes.
and it gave you an opportunity to really grow professionally and personally too. So
Yeah.
it's that's pretty cool that you took the no and made it a much better yes for yourself.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's for sure. So the what are three things that are important to you as a person?
Ooh, as a person, okay. Integrity. I even resist using the word integrity because that's the military, that's our conditioning. Honesty, I would
Uh-huh.
say. Um uh Harmony. I resist using the word balance because I don't think balance is a real thing. Harmony.
Oh,
Um and intention. I for me, I try to do nothing for no reason. So
it's for a
everything,
reason.
every yes, every no, everything um isn't done mindlessly or without care or thought. So yeah, I
Hmm.
would say those three things.
I like that. So it was honesty, um,
Harmony.
intentional, and harmony. That's
Yeah.
great. That's great. That's very cool. I've got my own three that I use, but this is about you, not about me. So it's very very cool. Um, so how did you ever decide to join the U.S. Army? I mean, what was the driving force?
Um, it was a decision that I made kind of out of the no, I was going to say kind of out of the blue. I had actually had a friend after graduating high school. I was working and I'd had a friend who was in the reserves at the time.
Uh-huh.
And she started talking to me about what the life was like. She had been active and had gone reserves and come back home and was working in the same job that I was working. And, just kind of talking to me about what military life was like. And the more she talked, the more interested I got. And I just started asking her questions, and well, what about this? And what is
Uh-huh.
this? And how does this happen? And what is going on with this? And again, it was just one of those moments where my lens widened. I had one thought or one plan or one path for what I thought my life would be. And just being open to those conversations with her allowed me to envision something else. And so I had
Hmm.
made my mind up to enlist, and I did not tell anybody in my family. I,
Wow.
I
Uh-huh.
I'm ridiculous like that. I did not tell anybody in my family.
Uh-huh.
I
Oh
had
my
gone.
gosh.
I was probably looking back on. I was a recruiter's dream. Like I walked in, I was like, "Listen, you don't have to
Uh-huh.
use me. I've already made up my mind. Just tell me what I need to do. Just like you don't have to sell me. You don't have to sell it to me."
Wow.
But I had decided I was going to go. I did. I was saying yes to adventure. I
Uh-huh.
think my life at the time had gotten to be very robotic and very predictable. And I knew that I needed something different. I needed to make a radical decision, an outside
Wow.
of the box decision. Uh, at the time, my older brother and I had an older cousin who had enlisted, both had gone reserves and come back home. And I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it differently than the way they did it. And so
Uh-huh.
I decided, I was going to enlist and I was going to go active duty. And that's what I did.
Wow, that is. And when did you finally tell your family? Before or after the final decision to join?
I had already, by the time I had already taken the initial oath of enlistment before I told my mom. My grandmother
Wow.
knew. My grandmother knew because she's who I went to when I was wrestling with the
Uh-huh.
decision. Like, okay, I want to do this, but
Yeah.
I'm concerned. I'm worried about what the family's going to think. And she freed me. She said, "Well, sometimes you got to do what you got to do." And I
Uh-huh.
said, "You know what, Granny? That's right.
I love it.
I'm gonna do it." And yeah, by the
Yeah.
time I told them, I had already taken the initial, I had taken my ASVAB and all of that stuff, had done everything, and the decision was made. And so
Uh-huh.
my mom was kind of like, "Well, you always have been a very strong-minded person, so I am going to trust this decision that you have made, that you've already made."
Wow.
And yeah, and I left.
That's amazing. That's an amazing story. So a lot of um, courage and I don't know. That's a pretty cool story. That's for sure. So you joined the Army, and what are some of the things over the 8 years in the military that you really think have taught you a lot and shaped you in both business and life? What are some of those things that you've taken with you have stayed with you?
I think definitely the courage, the inner strength. Um, I physically, I had never thought of myself as a very athletic person, but after surviving basic training and all of
Uh-huh.
that went out the window. But I remember I was stationed at an Air Force base for a little bit during my initial couple of years, and this Air Force base had a Marine Corps obstacle course on it, and one day we did that for PT. And again, not seeing myself in one way through one lens.
Uh-huh.
We go through life and we kind of see ourselves in one way until life throws something in front of us, and then that usually changes how we see ourselves. And
Uh-huh.
so we get to the obstacle course, and I run through it and get to the wall that you have to climb. It's like just the plain wall. You have to crawl your way up and get over it. And I'm small,
Hmm.
for
Yeah.
lack of a better word. So I get off to a racing start, and I run and think I'm going to grab hold of something and get over the wall, and it does not work. Instead, I pretty much run smack dab into the wall, and there happened to be a drill sergeant sitting on top of the wall at the time, and he laughed so maniacally at me. He was like, "Oh my
Oh.
God, I cannot believe you did that. I cannot believe
Uh-huh.
it." And so again, I get pissed off. I'm like, this dude is really pissing me off. So I go back to the previous obstacle and try it again, run differently, different tactic this
Uh-huh.
time. Eventually I get over the wall, get through the rest of the obstacles, and get to the last one, which is the rope that you have to
Uh-huh.
climb.
Yeah.
So I'm, of course, after I don't know how many obstacles, I'm
Sure.
exhausted. My body's exhausted. I'm pissed off. I'm dirty, all of this stuff. And I get to the rope. I get about halfway up the rope before I'm like, okay, I can't take it anymore. It turns out
Yeah.
that for the women, I had gotten the furthest through the obstacles. Like I had done the most. And so again, I walked away from that experience like, okay, that first attempt at the wall didn't work, but instead of letting like the critic, who
Yeah.
maybe in his mind thought he was motivating me, but instead of allowing that to cause me to quit or to doubt myself, try it again, figure it out, didn't complete it, but definitely
Yeah.
got further than I thought I would have
Mm-hmm.
walking up to it initially. So I definitely think the physical aspect of it, just really showed me who I really am, like what's really in me. And then I think too, just
1 second. I think that wasn't just physical. I think that was attitude. That was
yeah,
the darn it, I can do it attitude. And especially, and imagine if that drill had not been there to
mhm,
laugh, and maybe you wouldn't have done it, but you said,
right,
hey, son of a gun, watch this. And you went back and you did it. So
yeah,
maybe he was supposed to be there and chuckle and and that created, a better, more powerful you. That's pretty
yeah,
cool. That's
yeah.
pretty
Oh
cool.
yeah, that is great insight. Yeah, I definitely think I am one of those people. As long as I know I have an opposing force, I am in it. Just give me an antithesis, and I will stay in the fight. But the other thing I was going to mention was I didn't realize how much of a strategist I am. I didn't know until the Army allowed me to discover that in myself and really see how seeing pieces put together in my mind and being able to plan something according to the pieces that I see in my mind. Um,
Yeah.
I don't think life would have presented me as unique as an opportunity as the military did to
Uh-huh.
recognize that about myself. And that definitely that piece still lives with me today, you know, um,
Yeah.
setting a goal and backwards planning from the goal and organizing all of the pieces, seeing pieces in different levels. Like it in my mind, I see it as puzzle pieces, and that's something that I honed in the military.
Yeah. Well, you remind me a lot of my wife, is because she's always been strong, but and smart. But when she had her spinal cord injury, I found out just how tough and tenacious she
Mm,
is. And man, I've always respected her, but now I just fear her because I know how tough she is. So I get it. I get it. I think you and Jen would be fast friends. That's for sure. So, and I can tell you, you have a strong husband. That's for sure. I know that because
yeah.
strong women deserve strong men. That's for sure. So,
Yes.
the the it's interesting because with your business, you've made a big pivot, but tell me about Renegade Creative. And so as you started it, just kind of give me the lay of the land with Renegade, how it's come along. But I want to get to your pivot too. I think it's really cool what you're doing, but we'll wait on
Um.
that.
Okay. Yeah. So Renegade Creative is the third business that I started. It's the youngest of the business babies. It was
Oh,
it came out of me doing the work that I've been doing. So event planning business, kept that business. I had started that while I was working, and we PCS'd, our family PCS'd from the East Coast to the West Coast. And I took that business with me, intending to continue it at our new duty station. And I realized, after getting on the ground and getting the lay of the land through the lens of being the spouse, because I had been to this duty station before as a
hmm,
soldier. And so it was interesting to go back, not be in uniform anymore, the spouse, quote unquote, and
yeah,
an entrepreneur. So I got to get to know the community in a different way and realize that, oh, I'm going to need to shift this business a little bit if I want it to work. And so I started, instead of being hired to host events, I hosted my own events. The hosting of my own events turned into a business. I, hosted events for women. We, would get together and talk about relationships and aging and beauty and fashion, all of the things. And I would invite local small businesses to come and vend and talk about their products, demonstrate things. I did those events. I hosted my own events for 2 years and ended up hosting an event that got us on the front page of the local newspaper.
Oh,
Huge event, in the convention center the one convention center in the city, hosted the event. We ended up in the newspaper. And after that story ran, small businesses, entrepreneurs in the city started reaching out to say, how did you do that? You've
uh,
you've been here for, a couple of years, and how did you do an event and get people to travel into the city from across the state, and newspaper, all of that? And at the time, the only tools I had available to me was social media. And so I
uh-huh,
started telling those people like, oh, well, I was doing YouTube videos, or I was doing this, I was talking about it. Those conversations, the pattern that showed up in those conversations, like, oh, I know how to do something. I've done something that the average local business owner needs help with. And so I started
uh-huh.
to think, okay, well, what is that about? What is that
Mm-hmm.
going to be? And so I had started silently thinking about, well, if I were to teach X, Y, and Z, what would I teach? If I were to teach people how to post on Facebook, business owners, how to post on Facebook, what would I teach them? What would be important for them to know? And I had started outlining classes. I outlined
Uh-huh.
6 classes. And I had a friend at the time worked for the city. The SBDC had started hosting workshops. And this friend was like, hey, they've got this workshop coming up. You should go. And it was about Facebook, I think, or something like that. And I was like, no, I'm not going to that. And they were like, no, I really think you should go. So I went, got in the workshop, and sitting in the class and recognizing that the other people in the class were asking questions that the instructor could not answer. He didn't
Mm-hmm.
know. And so and so I was like, oh, well, hey, yeah, you could do this, this, and this. And finally the instructor turns to me and is like, well, who are you again? Because you're trying to take over my class. Well, I'm just being helpful, I'm Monique, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the class, I had a
Uh-huh.
thought, well, if this is something that the SBDC does, and I know how to do this, maybe I should talk to them about these, what I've been thinking about, what I've been kind of toying around with. And I ended up scheduling a meeting with the director of the SBDC and started teaching workshops in
Oh,
partnership with them. That was the
uh-huh.
beginning of Renegade Creative. I taught workshops. I worked with the SBDC. I had a column in the local newspaper, because in that same meeting with the SBDC's director, he's like, well, hey, I know the paper has been talking about, adding a column aimed at
Uh-huh.
small businesses and maybe social media and things like that. So I'm going to put you in touch with the editor, and y'all can see where it goes. So I wrote a column for several years, uh, hosted workshops, partnered with the SBDC, teaching workshops about digital marketing,
Yeah.
Facebook, the social media platforms, live streaming, all of that. That was the early days of
Mm-hmm.
Renegade Creative. It came out of just recognizing a gap in the market that I decided I was going to fill.
Very cool. It's interesting because what I really like is you seem to know when to pivot, or when to pivot for even for your clients. I will say, okay, the events then led in, and I see you're talking about the strategy, being able to see around. I'll call it the next corner,
Mm-hmm.
the social media, and then you've been doing this now for 14 years. Is that right, with
14 years, yeah.
Renegade?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. But recently, well, let me take a step back. So, who are your ideal clients today with Renegade? What's a great client look like for you?
So, like every business, I encourage every business. My advice is always have more than one. I have more than one. So I work with small to medium sized business owners, nonprofit, nonprofit leaders, and government entities. And the service, the core of the service, my frameworks are the same, but it's the service scales based on the need of the client. But I do right now am spending more time working with nonprofits,
Hmm.
particularly in the AI and governance space.
Hmm. Got it. Okay. So, and there we go. Perfect segue to the most recent AI or pivot. How did you go from social media to realizing that AI is going to change it, and then become a leader of clients and companies and people, and understanding how to implement AI for their business? Um,
Yeah.
this is really an amazing piece.
So we moved. So we stayed at that previous duty station where Renegade Creative was born. We were there total for 10 years. My husband
Oh,
ended up retiring. We stayed, and in 2022, we moved from the West Coast back to the East Coast. And I paused my business because at the time I had been essentially doing still speaking and teaching, but doing social media management for clients, creating their content. Um, and in the move, I had to pause everything just because a cross country
yeah,
move is, that's a lot.
it's a lot of moving
And
pieces.
exactly. And in the move, I paused and realized I didn't want to continue doing social media management. And part of the reason was because I would have friction, collisions with my clients essentially every month when we, I recognized we saw the brands one way and created content through that lens, but the client saw their brands another way. And so what we created didn't match with their vision.
Hmm.
The culprit, the reason for the disconnect was the absence of a strategy. The brand identity wasn't clarified. There was no brand messaging, customer personas, all of these things were never clarified. And so we would pretty much have to manufacture, we'd have to build it and make it up based on research that we would do on the brand and then use that as the guide to create the content. And so in the pause while we're moving, I'm ideating what is the new version of Renegade Creative going to look like. I already knew I didn't want to continue with, the agency model. I recognized I wanted to shift to consultant, and I wanted to
Hmm.
talk about the piece that I experienced was missing with every social media management client, and that was the strategy. So when once I had the clear vision for what that was going to be, restructured the business, built out new offers, and kind of developed my own framework for how I was going to approach this work. ChatGPT came out.
Uh-huh.
So right when all of this was happening, ChatGPT hits the scene, and I jumped in. I'm a naturally curious person. I started
Yep.
playing around with it, and with the intention of just figuring out how I could use it to help me be more productive, help internally inside the business. How can this accelerate
Hmm.
strategy building? How could this accelerate research? How can this accelerate data analysis and information gathering? And quickly realized, oh, definitely it can do a lot of things to help me improve how the quality of service that we deliver to clients, how quickly we deliver results and all of that. But I then soon realized, well, this will be very relevant and very important for helping my clients understand how it can help them as well. So I had built my own tools once that feature came out inside ChatGPT. I had my own internal custom GPTs that I used. Then I started building GPTs to sell and to use as teaching aids. So once the consultant um, business model took shape, I started looking for speaking opportunities. In this new community that we were in, I needed to get the word out and introduce myself to people. And so I started speaking and teaching and demonstrating how the technology could be used. And that turned into the evolution of marketing strategy into AI powered marketing strategy.
But anyways, hey, thanks for joining us back here. Monique, the piece that I really want to make sure I capture right now is around your implementation of AI and how you've built that into your business and helping other people succeed using AI. Is that okay that we go down that
Yeah.
thread for a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we'll go right into the wrap up, and we'll get you on your way and have a great day. That's for sure. So thank you.
Let's do it.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
All right. So Monique, tell us about how you've implemented AI into your business and for other businesses. I'm really intrigued to hear how you're helping other people succeed with AI.
Yeah, so that's very much been an iterative process. When I first started playing with ChatGPT, when it came out, I got in it and started playing with it, and over time started identifying ways that I could use the technology internally to help me get work done faster. As a marketing consultant, with my own framework and kind of have like my step-by-step process that I would work with clients through, I realized that I could put the tool, specifically ChatGPT in this example, put that to work to help me do research faster, to kind of analyze and synthesize like my call transcripts faster. That was an immediate like, oh, this is how I could put this technology to work for me and just help me scale essentially without duplicating myself. I couldn't code myself, but I could leverage the tool just to help me shorten the amount of time from client onboarding to client offboarding, just because I could get things done faster. And after I realized that, the technology, as I was iterating, the technology was iterating. New tools were coming out, new features were rolling out in the existing tools, and every time something new came out, I started playing with it, like trying it. Well, what can this do? And how can this help me do whatever better? So eventually I realized, oh, well, I can start, as I started to be more transparent, because I'm big on the transparency and letting, clients know that I was using AI internally. They started asking questions about, well, how can it help me? What can I do? And so it was one of those moments where people are asking me questions and I'm realizing that there is a gap that needs to be filled. And so that allowed me to transition, or expand probably is a better word, into working with business owners on integrating it, building their marketing workflows using AI, where we went from strategy, which I kind of feel like is the cloud, is the very high level plan, to the operation, the tactical stuff, which is doing the actual, day-to-day work. So I started doing that. And then again, over time, just having conversations, I started thinking about the technology through the lens of my intelligence training. I was intel when I was in the Army. And so I just started to think about, okay, well, there's all of this information and data, and what's about the privacy, and what should go in, what shouldn't go in. And that allowed me to start developing my framework around the governance of the technology. There is in this space, the whole, we're not trying to accelerate Skynet. So it was important to put rules in place, guidelines in place around how we're using it, just so things could be clear, a clear right and left limit for what the technology is allowed to touch and what is solely the responsibility of the human beings driving it. And so now my work looks like all three. I still use internal tools. I, build tools internally for my own businesses. I build tools for clients, help them develop their workflows using tools, and help them develop their use policies, the internal guidelines for how they use the technology. Just so, everybody's using it, everybody's on the same page, and they come away with it being more confident in their decisions. For me, I always understood this connection between the clarity and the confidence, whether we're talking about social media to governance structures for AI, artificial intelligence. when things are clear, it's easier for the leaders and for the people touching the work to make those decisions just with more confidence and more ease.
Yeah, absolutely. So what does a good engagement look like for you? Like what kind of customer, what's your ICP? And what does a good engagement look like for you?
Well, like any customer, any business owner that I advise, I have more than one. I always tell
Hmm.
people there's more than one. So I do work with small business owners, and I even group those small business owners in two categories. There are the coaches, consultants, maybe the DIY marketers. They're learning and doing it on their own.
Uh-huh.
Those types of business owners would more than likely be asking for help learning the tools and figuring out how to integrate the tools in their workflows. But then there is
Yep.
the more on the larger end of small business. You know, they might already have an internal marketing team. They might have a dedicated marketing vendor. They might outsource their marketing, and they too are looking to train their team that they already work with on how to
Yeah.
maximize the technology for their existing workflows, or they might be trying to refine their workflows. They're
Hmm.
recognizing, well, we're not doing things as efficiently as we can. Where can we apply AI? What tasks can we use the technology to help us just be more efficient at? So that's the for-profit side. I also work with nonprofit organizations who the whole governance conversation is their language. You know, they
Yes.
want to leverage the technology, but understand that they do need guidelines around what fundraising is doing versus what the program directors are doing so that they can be accountable to the board and to their stakeholders. So that conversation looks a little bit different, but for me it's still AI. You know,
Hmm. Right.
it's still in the universe of, you know, kind of how I function. And then the last customer is like a government attached or government associated entity where it's the same
Wow.
thing. It's the policy,
Hmm.
it's developing the policy around how the technology is used inside their organizations and even the organizations that they partner with. So for me, like I said, it's still AI. You know, it
Yeah.
doesn't, for me, it doesn't feel like the work changes much at all. The
Yeah.
deliverables change. And, you know, based on the deliverables, that allows me just to refine the language and refine the positioning based on the intended customer.
Understood. Understood. Thank you. So, Monique, we're going to shorten our time together here with this conversation. I've already used a lot of your time. Thank you so much. What's a piece of advice that you would share with veteran entrepreneurs, maybe in particular regarding AI? What's, that one or two things that you'd say you got to do this?
I would say first, you gotta not expect the tool, not look for the tool to lead you, lead the tools,
That's
lead the
right.
technology. You have to lead the technologies. And then I actually think about it like a multi-tool. I don't know about your military experience, Rod, but I used to carry my multi-tool on my belt, you know? So if
Yep.
you pull it out and it's a knife, it's a screwdriver, it's all these different things. AI can be a multi-tool for, I mean,
Let's see. I have one right here
yeah,
because you have to have a
I
multi-tool. How
know.
do you not have a multi-tool?
The
That's right.
technology as a whole can be a multi-tool, and be curious with
Hmm.
exploring what's available. Think about the problems or even the annoying things in your business, the things that you wish you that drain you, that you wish you could
Yeah.
refine or polish. There's probably a tool out there that's available. Proceed with caution, read the terms of service, and just make sure that again you're going into this relationship with this technology from a place of clarity so you can use it confidently.
I think that those are some great points. I think, leadership, that's why I was like, yeah, because, we have to lead the tool.
Right.
And I think we have to lead our clients and our team members all with this stuff.
Yes.
And I just had a conversation with a wonderful team member today. And I said, look, competency, of course, that's, you have to be competent in your job. I says, but the real deal is, can we build trust with our clients?
Hmm.
And then based on that foundation of trust, then we're allowed to teach, coach, collaborate, and challenge our clients.
Yeah.
And that is all called leadership. And competency is only one piece. And honestly, the professionals that I work with that only think it's good enough to be competent in their skill are the ones who aren't going to survive in the world of AI. Because leadership, I believe, has become 10 times more important than it was before. And it's going to be the soft skills that win the game, I believe, because we're all going to be baselining from the same stuff. But here's what happens. The AI gives us all the answers and stuff, but what it doesn't do is it doesn't collaborate with you. It doesn't challenge you.
That's right.
And if you don't take those actions, then you're dead in the water. You're not going to be moving forward. So I think your points of transparency, privacy, trust, are all in leadership are absolutely the right things for people to be hearing and thinking about as they implement and master AI. So it's either, take charge of it or it's going to take charge of us,
Yes.
That's for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's something that the audience can do to champion and celebrate yourself and your business? How can we help you along your journey?
Join me on LinkedIn. I publish a weekly newsletter, Creative Marketing Strategist. I write about marketing lessons, things that might be happening in pop culture. For example, at the time that we're recording this, the burger wars are going on.
Yes.
So I wrote an article about a marketing takeaway that's kind of counterculture. I'm a little bit that way, to what the conversation at large is about and the takeaways for small to medium business owners and nonprofit leaders. I write about AI as well and how it applies and how it works and how people can use it to make the impacts that they want to make. So yes, connect with me on LinkedIn and subscribe to the newsletter.
Fantastic. Hey, we want to say thank you so much for joining us today, and appreciate your patience when we had the technical issues with the podcast. Thank you so much. We're going to donate $100 to the MilCom Scholarship Fund in your name, and want to say thank you so much for your insights, ideas, energy, Monique. Does Monique mean energy somewhere? I bet it does.
Okay. I'm so glad you asked this question, Rod. So Monique has two meanings. One is alone, which when people find that out, they're like, what? I'm actually I'm an introvert. I know it's a crunchy extrovert shell, but I really am an introvert. The other meaning is advisor.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So being a consultant is the perfect thing for me to do. Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Fantastic. So, all right. Well, thank you again so much for your time and insights and, again, energy. That's for sure.
Thank you.
So you're welcome.
Thanks for joining us on the MilCom Founders Podcast. If you know a MilCom founder with a story to share, reach out to us at milcomfounders.com. For each guest on our show, One Degree Financial donates $100 to the Dick Wojcik Veteran Entrepreneur Scholarship Fund, supporting education for children of a MilCom business owner. Stay ready.